I'm going to use the Netflix series Beef to explain the current relationship between mortgage holders and the RBA. Yikes. First of all, let's hit the analogy map. And by the way, spoilers alert. Hitting the drawing board, the Beef analogy map. So starting off, the two protagonists of the Beef Netflix series, we have Amy and Danny. Right off the bat, Amy represents the RBA and Danny represents the existing mortgage holder. And branching off from Amy to George, which is Amy's husband, George represents tenants and / renters of Australia. And then swinging to Danny, Paul, his younger brother, represents the first home buyers of Australia. Then we have Amy's bitch boss, Jordan. She represents the landlords. On the other side of the fence, we have Danny's dodgy cousin, Isaac, and he represents the dodgy spruikers, the dodgy agents / property agents, and he can chuck in the dodgy mortgage broker. And with this as a premise, let's begin. So right off the bat, we begin with episode 1, which is the catalyst of the beef. We have the main protagonist in the truck, which is Danny over here, and he represents the mortgage holders of Australia. So basically, he was trying to return some grills, which he used to do some carbon monoxide poisoning, wink wink. Now, obviously, he decides to cock himself because he's an Aussie battler, the mortgage, the stress, the responsibilities. But then he decides against it and backs up and decides to go onto the highway of life. But then the other protagonist, Amy, which represents the RBA, gets in his way and honks and goes, "Hey, you're in my way, F you, 11 consecutive interest rate hikes." And after hiking rates by 11 times, she puts the middle finger to a lawyer and goes, "F you, mortgage holder," and drives away. Obviously, what ensues after is a massive car chase where the RBA drives away and Danny, the mortgage holder, gets smoke in his face and spewing, and then beef has formed between the RBA and the mortgage holder. Now, throughout the whole series, between Danny and Amy, mortgage holder, and the RBA, they're always trying to get back at each other. There's always a battle between those two. Now, throughout the whole story, Amy is constantly lying to George, right? So the RBA is constantly lying to the renters and the tenants of Australia. And Amy, who represents the RBA, is like, me increasing the rates is actually very good for you, George. Me increasing my hours at work is actually good for the family. I'm doing this for the family. And Amy's like, "Hey guys, I'm trying to control inflation, right? And me increasing the rate is not get your rent increasing too." But then we have bitch-ass Amy's business partner, Jordan, which represents the landlords, sidelines Amy and increases the rent for these guys anyway. And since George doesn't work because he doesn't own any properties like, Jordan over here, he's treated like a second-class citizen. And if you think Amy is a pathological liar, well, Danny isn't much better because as an existing mortgage holder, he likes to lie to his younger brother, the first home buyers. Danny, the existing mortgage broker that goes to Paul, the first home buyer, is like, "Oh, don't get a home loan. It's scary. Don't trust the RBA." While Danny tries to scare Paul out of the property market by scaring them with interest rates and horror stories, Danny backs up to Isaac to do some dodgy loans to get finance for himself. We know how dodgy Isaac is, right? The bloody spruikers, "Oh, open an SPV, open a trust account. You don't need to declare your personal debts. You can buy 100 properties with an SPV, yada, yada, yada." We all know what happened to Isaac, right? In freaking jail. And as you guys know, the beef between Amy and Danny ensues and boils to a climax when Amy fucks Paul behind George's and Danny's back. What I'm talking about, right? Amy, the RBA, with the government, which is represented by the condom, sleeps with Paul, the first home buyers, promises Paul over here, the first home buyer, the first home guarantee scheme, 95% no mortgage insurance. Amy, the RBA, and the government say, "Oh, housing affordability is going to get better. Just wait and see." Unbeknownst to the existing mortgage broker, Danny, Paul is getting catfished by the RBA and the government. Obviously, Paul finds out he got catfished, and then he dobs on George. And then Paul tells George, "You know what? I F'd your wife. Your rent is going to skyrocket because we first home buyers are going to flood the market." Because in all honesty, George, these tenants and renters, what I'm really going to do, because I got some tips from my older brother, Danny, my dodgy cousin, Isaac over here, we first home buyers will buy the property with the first home guarantee scheme, get all the benefits, live in it for 6 months, and then turn it into a rental property. Haha. And then George is like, "What the hell? No, ma, I'm going to divorce you, Amy." And Amy, the RBA, gets angry and raises more rates. And then Danny, the existing mortgage, is like, "What the hell are you doing? I'm going to get back at you." And then they travel down this road. If you've seen Beef, the house burned down for Danny. And then Julian, which is Amy's daughter, got kidnapped by Isaac for ransom money. And all that beef between these two protagonists basically boils. And the anger and resentment between these two, which has been brewing and brewing throughout the whole series, kind of metaphorically represents our economy, inflation, high cost of living. You can't really grasp it. It's very loose and no one can attack it and control it. And it's been bottling up since the COVID-free money days. And this stuff, which represents the beef between Amy and Danny, which is the RBA and the mortgage holders, it starts to implode and reach a boiling point where in the last episode, these two are like at each other's throats and to the point where they're both alone with each other and they're trying to destroy each other. And what can really save the relationship between these two? Well, the poison berry, which I personally think is a metaphor for the recession that's coming. Because the recession poison berry will really force these two, Amy and Danny, RBA and the mortgage holders, to really reunite again, to really make peace with one another and to unconditionally love each other. And on a deeper level, the Netflix series Beef asks us this question. Can George, who represents the tenants and renters, really forgive Danny, the existing mortgage holders? Because after all, we existing mortgage brokers took a bullet from you, George. Without us taking the risk to buy the property, where would you live? Jump in the comments. Do you like this analogy? You agree or disagree?